Carrie Lam postpones her policy address until at least November. The strong wind signal number 3 now in effect, and the observatory may consider issuing the number 8 signal tomorrow morning. And Boris Johnson is set to impose a 3-tier coronavirus lockdown system in parts of England.
Hello and a very good evening. Chief Executive Carrie Lam has postponed her policy address scheduled for this Wednesday. She says she will visit Beijing later this month for discussions about the central government support policies for the SAR.
As Pinky Wong reports, she aims to deliver the policy address by the end of November.
Chief Executive Carrie Lam made the announcement just 2 days before the scheduled delivery of her policy address. Lam said she was invited over the weekend to go to Shenzhen to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the founding of the Special Economic Zone. The CE then denied the SAR government needs to wait for Beijing's direction.
It is not a matter of waiting for directions. It is a matter of responding to a positive indication from the central government that they have taken full account of the chief executive's recommendations, that they really want to facilitate those policy measures so that Hong Kong people could have more confidence, the economy could bounce back earlier. So this is a very good opportunity that no chief executive would forego. That's why I'm making this trip to Beijing towards the end of this month.
President Xi Jinping will also attend the celebrations in Shenzhen.
I have no scheduled meeting with President Xi during his visit to Shenzhen. So let me clarify again that the policy address is a very important event. There is absolutely no intention on my part to belittle my own policy address. It is an indisputable fact that Hong Kong's economic growth is very related to what we are going to do in our work with the mainland economy. And so there are several measures that I have proposed for the central government to consider.
LegCo President Andrew Leung said the CE informed him at 9:30 this morning about the decision.
I think I respect CE's notice. We have to make new arrangement for Wednesday, and there's minor difficulties, but it's not inconvenient.
Lawmakers hold different views.
We understand the decision of the Chief Executive to postpone the announcement of the policy address. We do want the government to introduce any timely measures to deal with the livelihood issues. We do not want to see any delay.
She has received some sort of order coming from the north, from the central government, saying that she has to hold up her policy address, so that she has to waiting for further instruction coming from the central government. She is now puppets only.
Pinky Wong, TVB News.
Shenzhen will be in a festive mood this Wednesday. President Xi Jinping will be there to deliver a speech marking the Special Economic Zone's 40th anniversary.
And ahead of the visit, Beijing has issued a reform plan to turn Shenzhen into a demonstration area of socialism with Chinese characteristics. Caleb Leung has details.
Heightened security in Shenzhen ahead of President Xi Jinping's visit. This is the state leader's first trip to the city since 2018. Before the visit, Beijing issued a major plan to implement pilot reforms in the Special Economic Zone. Under the plan, Shenzhen will be built into a demonstration area of socialism with Chinese characteristics in the next 5 years. State media CCTV reported that the plan includes the promotion of a higher-level Shenzhen-Hong Kong cooperation and the strengthening of Shenzhen's core engine function in the development of the Greater Bay Area. Hong Kong economist Francis Lloyd told TVB that the plan focuses on the development of the technology sector, a field that Hong Kong is already falling behind.
If the Hong Kong government does not try to do anything substantive, then gradually, maybe in about 4 or 5 years, Hong Kong will be very much behind Shenzhen, at least as far as the technology sector is concerned.
However, Lui is not too optimistic about Hong Kong's near future in this regard.
The pandemic problem has not been solved here, and Hong Kong people cannot travel to the mainland or travel to Shenzhen freely. So, strategically speaking, it should be very important for the Hong Kong government to really try to lower the number of new COVID cases per day to zero.
If Hong Kong failed to keep the epidemic under control, Lui said the SAR will not be able to grasp the opportunities available under the plan. Caleb Leung, TVB News.
The observatory issued the strong wind signal number 3 at 5:10 p.m. as a tropical depression edges closer to the South China coast. Nanka is forecast to gradually intensify as it moves towards Hainan Island. At 4 p.m., it was estimated to be about 520 kilometers southeast of Hong Kong. Combined with the influence of the northeast monsoon, winds are expected to strengthen tonight. There could be a few showers tonight and heavy rain tomorrow. The observatory says it will consider issuing the gale or storm signal number 8 before dawn tomorrow.
Overseas now, and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is set to impose a tiered system of pandemic-related lockdown restrictions in parts of England. The move comes in response to a recent spike in the country's number of COVID cases.
Surges in coronavirus infection rates have also been reported in mainland Europe and the Middle East. India's situation is, however, beginning to stabilize. Daniel Rowell has more on these developments.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's three-tiered local lockdowns will include the closures of bars, gyms, casinos and bookmakers. They will be implemented in areas with high COVID infection rates. A total of 12,872 new coronavirus cases were reported in the UK on Sunday. The country has so far registered 42,825 COVID-related deaths. Northern England has been particularly hard hit by the new infection surge. This means restrictions on public life in the region are likely to remain in place for some time. The Prime Minister is coming under pressure from his own Conservative Party, as well as medical experts. Leading Tories argue another full-scale national lockdown would devastate the UK's economy. Conversely, public health officials believe further restrictions on public life are inevitable. Elsewhere in Europe, Portugal reported 1,646 new cases of coronavirus on Saturday. This is the nation's highest daily count since the start of the pandemic. Portugal has seen a steady rise in new COVID infections over the past 6 weeks. In India, 66,732 new coronavirus cases have been reported in the past 24 hours, driving the country's overall tally to 7.1 million. India's total number of COVID deaths also rose to 109,150. Despite this, India's daily case numbers have been declining since mid-September. Health experts have, however, expressed concern about whether upcoming religious festivals could pose a threat to public health. Daniel Rowell, TVB News.
Here in Hong Kong, the city today reported 11 new coronavirus cases. 5 of them are local infections, with 1 having an unknown source.
Meanwhile, 2 more provisional testing centers commenced operations today. More details from Kana Chu.
The infection tally at the virus-stricken home of Treasure in Kwai Chung has topped 17 as 2 more occupants of the facility for the disabled have come down with the coronavirus. The remaining locally acquired infections include a 59-year-old close contact of the Royal Garden Hotel cluster and a female who had been in touch with someone linked to the China Secret cluster. Having experienced symptoms including a taste loss on October 4th, she was diagnosed with COVID 4 days later. A student of the Vocational Training Council's Youth College in Two Moon, she was last seen on campus during the transmission period on October 5th. The institution will receive specimen collection bottles and classes will be suspended for 2 weeks. Similar arrangements will also be in place at an adjacent IV institution. Authorities are still determining the infection origin of a woman who arrived from Pakistan back in July. Initially testing COVID-free twice, she gave birth at Kwong Wah Hospital on August 27th. Last Saturday, she felt a hip pain and was diagnosed with COVID-19 during a hospital visit. Specimen collection bottles will be handed out at Larkspur House of Soak Estate, where she resides.
It's a possible local link case, but there's also a possibility that she's an imported case. Her antibody has been tested positive and she has a very high CT value.
The 6 imported cases involve arrivals from India, Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and Switzerland via Turkey. So far, 2 additional temporary testing sites have joined the city's battle against COVID-19. At the Henry G. Long Yau Ma Tei Community Center and at the Kai Tak Community Hall. Combined with a pair of existing ones in Wan Chai and Kwai Chung, all 4 facilities are expected to run until Wednesday. They will be open to the public from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Kana Chu, TVB News.
Former Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying suggested mandating a territory-wide COVID-19 screening by law. Now, that's to eliminate infections, reopen closed borders and revive the economy. Last month, the government implemented the Universal Community Testing Program, under which the public could get tested on a voluntary basis. The 2-week process identified 32 carriers of the virus out of the 1.78 million specimen samples collected.
We need to test 7.5 million people. For it to be territory-wide, we need to have a legal mandate. And the cost in terms of doing this territory-wide mandatory testing will be much lower than the direct and indirect cost to life and health, to our social life, and to our economy. The mainland now probably has the most readily available capability. To them, this capability may be surplus now to help Hong Kong carry out this territory-wide mandatory testing scheme.
Back overseas, U.S. President Donald Trump is claiming that not only has he made a full recovery from COVID-19, he's also immune from the disease.
It comes as both Trump and his opponent, Joe Biden, plan to campaign heavily in key states this week. U.S. President Donald Trump is trying to make up for lost time after being out of action for more than a week following his COVID-19 diagnosis at the beginning of the month. Before hitting the campaign trail and traveling to key battleground states, Trump was at pains to stress that he had beaten COVID and was, in fact, immune to the disease. Given that the scientific community's understanding of immunity to COVID is still being researched, tested and debated, Trump's claim that he can now resist the disease is raising eyebrows. Not only is the claim impossible to prove reliably, given how cagey the White House has been in communicating details about his infection, it adds to the ongoing unknowns about the president's health and how seriously COVID-19 affected or continues to affect him. Trump also insisted he is no longer infectious to others around him. And with the virus again dominating the national discourse, the Trump campaign has released an ad featuring Dr. Anthony Fauci praising the president's leadership. But America's leading infectious disease expert objected to being included. In a statement, Fauci said, "The comments attributed to me without my permission in the GOP campaign ad were taken out of context." Meanwhile, the president's opponent, Joe Biden, is hoping to double down on Trump's mishandling of the pandemic, his COVID diagnosis, and his chaotic debate performance by going on the offensive in key swing states. Biden is set to make a campaign visit to Ohio later today, signaling the former vice president's hopes of winning the state. Democrats lost by a significant margin in the 2016 election.
According to Australian researchers, the virus that causes COVID-19 can survive on banknotes, glass, and stainless steel for up to 28 days. By comparison, the influenza A virus has been found to survive on surfaces for 17 days. The study involved drying the virus in an artificial mucus on a range of surfaces. The samples were then recovered a month later for examination. The study showed the virus survived longer at cooler temperatures on smooth surfaces and on paper banknotes than plastic banknotes. All the experiments were done in the dark to remove the impact of ultraviolet light. This is because research has shown direct sunlight can kill the virus.
In the real world, those surfaces are likely to be in contact with the sunlight. There'll also be different humidities, different temperatures. So the real world results would likely be shorter than what we were able to show.
And still ahead on tonight's news, an Electoral Affairs Commission report on proposed changes to the city's election arrangements. A prototype device that could reduce harmful airborne particles created by tyre wear.
Welcome back. The Electoral Affairs Commission has warned the government about implementing certain changes to the voting process.
One proposal would allow residents to cast their ballots while not physically in Hong Kong. Haley Joe reports.
In a report submitted to the chief executive, the Electoral Affairs Commission struck a cautious tone about the government's plan to allow Hong Kongers outside the city to vote. The Commission says the government should study the subject from policy perspectives and the legal aspects, feasibility in setting up polling stations outside Hong Kong so as to facilitate a thorough discussion in society, and then introduction to LegCo for deliberation. A suitable monitoring mechanism should be in place to ensure the credibility of the election. It went on to say if the government does decide to go ahead with such a plan, it'll have to rely on other government dampeners, as the EAC has no experience in conducting polls abroad. And about the introduction of electronic voting, the Commission stressed again there must be vigorous studying on various issues. They include the verification of electors' identity, security, autonomy and secrecy of the vote, and monitoring and counting mechanisms. There also must be extensive public discussions. About the proposals to set up dedicated lines for those in need, the Commission says the electoral law only has provisions to ensure fair and equal treatment, but not priority treatment. However, it says the adoption of electronic poll register could lift some of the physical restrictions for it. Haley Zhou, TVB News.
Hong Kong murder suspect Chan Tong Kai has been given a deadline to return to Taiwan by the victim's mother. The victim's mother is now demanding that Chan turn himself in to Taiwanese authorities on or before next Friday. Otherwise, she will not fulfill her promise of asking the court for leniency. Over in Taiwan, Chan's lawyer is currently handling the case with Chan's prosecutor. Pastor Peter Kuhn, who has been assisting Chan, said there is still no timetable for Chan's departure.
The Professional Teachers Union has submitted an appeal to the Education Bureau regarding a deregistered primary school teacher. The government deregistered the educator after accusing him of deliberately disseminating pro-independence messages in his teaching materials. Submitting documents on behalf of the teacher, the union hopes the appeals board can handle the matter in a professional manner. Members of the board are appointed by the chief executive. The award for economics closed out the Nobel Prize season. Going once, going twice. The final honor went to Americans Paul Milgram and Robert Wilson for improvements to auction theory and inventions of new auction formats. The Royal Swedish Academy noted auctions are everywhere and affect our everyday lives. The pair's work benefited sellers, buyers and taxpayers around the world. In addition, new auction formats have been used for radio spectra, fishing quotas, aircraft landing slots and emissions allowances. The Norwegian Nobel Committee is planning a scaled-back ceremony for all of the winners in December.
A group of London design students has created a prototype device that could put a lid on harmful airborne particles created by tire wear. Particulate matter, as it's known, is created by wear on tires, brakes, and roads, and contributes to the toxic air pollution that kills an estimated 7 million people annually. Doctors say when inhaled, they can cause serious health problems, going deep into our lungs, even into our bloodstream. The London group has created a prototype device that uses electrostatics to capture potentially harmful particles before they enter the atmosphere. But as things stand, they believe the problem is only set to get worse. Heavier batteries installed in electric vehicles could mean more particles. That's the news. Thanks for watching.
Bye for now. Good night.